What is up, guys? Jeff here for One Fish, Two Fish. Today we are actually in store today, and we are going to do some fragging of some Euphyllia. So our market here, now this is going to be different. Literally every store is going to have sort of what does better there. Our market here, to be completely honest, we don't sell a lot of larger, more expensive pieces. The bulk of what we do here is stuff like for large hammers, and I'm going to show you a handful of them, is stuff that we will cut into 2 or 3 pieces. Our customers seem to prefer that. They want to grow it out themselves, or there's just not as many big tanks in our area. So we do find, you know, most of the pieces we sell, I would say 85 to like 90% of the pieces we sell are smaller pieces, frags up to, you know, mini small colonies, and then, you know, maybe 15 or 20% will be actual full, you know, multiple heads or multiple inch wall hammer, stuff like that. So I'm going to show you a couple of them. Actually, Koolaid is in with us today. He's actually doing the fragging. He does most of the fragging here at the store, and he is doing some now, so I thought I would jump on the camera and give you guys an idea of really how simple it is if you have the right tools. Very much not complicated. There is a couple of things to remember, which he'll talk about, I'm sure, when he's doing it. Like that's like watching the mouse and all that stuff. But I'll show you guys the setup that we use first of all. I'm gonna try. We're actually open right now, and there is a lot of customers in the store. So when you see me kind of hiding the camera, it is because there's a bunch of people around, and I'm trying to keep everybody off of camera that don't want to be on. So this is Koolaid, as he's obviously sitting down because that's sort of what he does. You're on the YouTube.
Oh boy.
So
we're gonna break the internet.
This is the most important part of what you are doing when cutting up poles. This is a diamond bandsaw, the one that we use, and there are a couple of different options for them. This is a Fraggin. This one is a little bit older, and we are actually starting to have some problem with the blade coming off. We have ordered the parts for it, we think, to fix. But this is just the little setup that we use.
Hello?
You know, just so we have a torch that's already in there ready to cut. He just makes a huge mess in the bottom and basically just cleans that all up, so anything he doesn't want he just throws in the bottom. Always good to have some frags ready. And then, like I said, we've got a couple of different things. So the way this works is it actually runs water from in the back here, and it will, really not much to it. So you just fill the back with water or have it automatic set up to water, which is what we do. And then water will run through the diamond blade as you're cutting. And then, you know, they just have a couple of little silly things that they have that they find works easier, better, blah, blah, blah. So what are you planning, Koolaid, to cut?
All right, well, first we'll do a torch, because it's a simpler one to do.
Yeah.
So torches are essentially a branching coral. So as I take it into the water, you can see there's 2 pretty clear heads to this torch. So we'll basically just cut it right down the middle, and then we'll glue it on some frag plugs and get it back in the water.
And torches are, like he said, and you don't even, it is easier with the bandsaw for sure to do it this way, but he'll also show you, you can kind of have it out of the water for a half a second, and really it's not the end of the world. Go ahead. Very simple. Turn 1 2-head torch, and then they just go back into the, you know, very lightly, not medicated, but I can't remember the name of the stuff, but there's some stuff in there, and then
just to help it heal.
Yeah, you're just going to throw some glue on the plugs.
So something to mention too about the glue, what we have now is Corafix glue, but there's different types of glue on the market, and you want one that has, they're usually branded as a gel glue or something like that. I find glues that are too liquidy. You can see this up real close. It kind of makes a blob of glue rather than it, if it's liquidy, it'll just kind of cover the whole frag plug all together, and then it's harder to get it glued. So
something else to remember not to do because I've done it a couple times, is you can actually use these in the water. They work in the water. You can glue in the water. You do have to be very careful when gluing in the water, because I've done it a couple times where when I have let go of the container, I've gotten a little bit of water in the glue, and it will literally ruin, you know, the first inch or 2 inches of your glue. It just turns it to crap, and you basically have to cut it open, go through it, ruin all that glue, and kind of start fresh. So just be wary when you are doing it in the water. Be very careful to make sure no water gets into it. Or, I mean, like he's showing you here, you can certainly take it out of the water for a handful of seconds, and it really doesn't hurt anything so much.
So we'll just glue them back on the frag plugs, which is very quick and very simple. One, back in the tank. And 2 goes back in the tank. And as you can see, torches take cutting pretty good. They'll stay open. They don't get too unhappy. In a minute, we're going to cut a hammer, and you'll see they shrink up quite a bit more. But because the torches, you're not cutting through any of the flesh. They tend to take the cutting pretty good.
And normally, in the way we would normally do this, is we would actually leave it in the dip for a much longer period. We're just trying to show you guys the full sort of process to it without actually waiting the full amount of time. We have had these torches for quite a while. We know they're good. And again, with him not actually cutting through any of the flesh, like he'd said, the torches do really take it very easy. So now the hammers you're going to watch. So this is a very nice. The camera's not doing it any justice for actual coloration, but you can see how big that actually is, and it actually looks like he's going to get a much more. When you look at that, you're going to think he's going to get 3 or 4 nice pieces off that, but he actually doesn't get to say what he's going to cut off that, because he has to make sure everything has like its own mouth, and he has to make sure that there is a way to cut it so that it does stay healthy and survives. And obviously with doing stuff like this, we won't sell it for, you know, anywhere from, depending on different stuff, anywhere from a couple days to a couple of weeks. A lot of the stuff is like torches and stuff like that. You know, you can basically sell them in the next couple days and they'll be okay. We'll know right away if there's any issues. The hammers, because we are cutting through flesh, we do take a little more time with them. So we'll watch them cut up.
Basically, the coral lets us know when it's ready to be sold.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
if you want to come around here, Jeff, and just see, if you look straight from above, you can see really clearly on this hammer that there's 2 mouths. I'm not sure how well that is showing up, but there is 2 pretty clear mouths. I'll point. That's one right there, and then there's another one over here. So like Jeff said, even though it's a big piece of coral, we're only going to be able to cut it in 2.
And the reasoning, as he's just kind of taking this and he's going to put it in the dip for a second first, the reasoning behind this is a couple of reasons. One, obviously for our market, we do better with smaller pieces. Instead of, now I'm just making up these prices, so don't quote anything, but let's just say that large hammer is a $200 hammer. It's actually beneficial for us, even with money-wise. If we were to cut it up, it's much easier to sell 2, like, let's say $110 pieces, instead of selling the one $200 piece. So for our market, it does suit. Now again, there are going to be lots of stores that don't ever cut anything. Their customers just don't. Their customers are much more to buy bigger pieces, and that's 100% fine. It is, you know, it's very much to where you're at, what store you're at, what city you're at, and blah blah. The other thing to it, obviously, is for sustainability. What we try to do is anything that we get in that we really like, when we cut it up, if we cut it up into 3 or 4, usually we'll sneak a piece of it, we'll put it in our display tank, in our reefer, and kind of just leave it and forget about it. We'll let it grow out. And then when it gets to a point where we can cut it again, obviously, you know, that benefits us because we are able to grow it here. And growing stuff is obviously a lot less than having to buy it and ship it. And it's obviously a lot better on the environment as well. So that's a couple of reasons on why we do that. So we'll watch him actually cut this up.
So the hammer's in the dip. Before I do that, though, I think one thing we should mention when you're cutting corals is just make sure you know what you're cutting. There are some corals that can actually make you sick. Now, we know torches, we know hammers, we know we're fine. But when you're cutting some stuff, it's recommended you wear gloves, a mask, safety goggles, and stuff like that.
And again, you guys, you do have to remember we are doing this on a video, and although, you know, Koolaid is not a movie star quality, it is when he would normally do this, he would normally have, you know, really thin plastic gloves on. He would be wearing a face mask, just out of precaution. Where when we're doing the video, he's kind of let go most of the stuff like that. So yeah, that is something definitely just remember. Just because he's not wearing it on this, it doesn't mean he normally doesn't. You know, 75% of stuff we cut is no big deal. Anything zoanthids, polys, pallies, stuff like that, you definitely want to make sure you're wearing some gloves and have something on your eyes just to keep the gunk out of it.
So just before we continue, though, we should just clarify. Maybe I'm not a movie star, but I'm close. Like,
All right,
I'm
okay.
almost there.
Cut this so we don't lose subscribers, please.
I'm almost there.
Oh my gosh. I apologize, folks.
All right, so we know where the two heads are. So basically with this one, we're just going to cut right down the middle of it. So we'll turn the saw on. So we got two pieces. In this case, the bottoms are nice and flat. Otherwise, we might cut the bottom to smooth them out so they don't tip over. But we'll put these back in our dip.
And something you guys will notice as he cut that, how slow he went. With these saws, you very much do not want to push anything through. You just want to guide it. You're just there to give it a little nudge, and the saw will tell you how quick basically it can do the cutting. Some things it goes through pretty fast, stuff like that it does take an extra second, but as long as you go the speed that it's comfortable with, it'll cut through almost anything for you.
So because it's hammers and because we cut through the flesh, I'm going to leave them in the dip for a minute, but basically all we're going to do is we're going to put them on a frag plug and put them back in the tank like you've seen with the oranges. So.
And that's why you'll see a lot of, when you're looking at a lot of hammers in stores, you'll notice how all the bottoms have such nice flat edges. Stores do that because it's easier for us to display, it's easier for you when you get it, and that sort of thing. You'll be able to just, you're able to place it where you want it. It's a lot easier to glue, just to add some glue and put it on. As you guys can tell, it is a busy day here. It's a Saturday. The phone hasn't stopped ringing since we got here. So when Koolaid is here, this is usually the first thing he attacks. I would show you, I hate showing stuff on the camera because it just looks horrible, but you can see all of the empty space, which is basically what I'm trying to show you guys. There's just a ton of empty space. Look at these things, even in the, trying to get off the, even in the really not so good lens, like look at that, what a gorgeous piece. But yeah, there's tons of room. So yeah, guys, that is basically cutting corals. That is just cutting Euphyllia. We are going to do another couple videos on some LPS stuff as well as some Zoas. Zoas are the easiest thing to cut on the planet. I will tell you guys how I used to cut them, and it's scary, but it worked. They all lived. So anyway, guys, there you go. Make sure to subscribe. Check you in the next one.